Hi guys, welcome back. We're doing another Above and Beyond Envoy. I hope the beginning of February is treating you nicely. So our next Above and Beyond Envoy actually was not at UNF last semester. He was in France, but that is Christian.
Hey guys, I'm Christian.
Yeah, so without further ado, I guess we'll just start the first question. So the first question is basically, who are you? What major are you? What year are you? Are you from Jacksonville? Just get to know you.
Okay, well, my name is Christian. I'm a marketing major here at UNF. It's my junior year, and I'm from Tallahassee, Florida, born and raised.
Nice. What made you want to come here, not FSU?
Well, I kind of grew up around FSU my whole life, bleeding garnet and gold, up until the time I decided to apply for colleges, and I thought I'd like something new. I think UNF provided that for me, as well as the city of Jacksonville, the city that I was
That's awesome.
100% familiar
Awesome.
with.
Yeah, I grew up in Jacksonville, so a lot of times, UNF was never anybody's first choice. It was always every other school in Florida. So it's always nice to hear people who want to come here. Makes me feel good because I love the school. So
That's right.
Next question: what made you want to apply with Envoys, and how did you hear about Envoys?
So I applied for Envoys because I noticed it being kind of like a step above all the other student organizations in regards to its responsibilities, in regards to the privileges that Envoys receive, and then most prominently the application process. It just seems different and more prestigious, and I think I kind of like that. My favorite thing about being an Envoy so far has to be just making new friends. I think that was a nice perk that came along with it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I definitely love all the people in our organization, and I'm very excited because today I think everyone's going to get the calls as to whether or not they got accepted, so that's exciting. Next question. So as I stated earlier, you recently studied abroad. Where was it, and what was it for?
I studied abroad in Marseille, France, through the Coggan College of Business. It was just to kind of do it. I've always heard about it, studying abroad and the opportunity throughout my college career. And I kind of saw it as a challenge, something new that I've never done before. And so I just kind of walked into it blindly and had a great time.
That's really cool, though. That's really cool. So off of that, what was it like where you studied? What were any differences that you noticed between basically Europe and the United States? Yeah,
and this was my first time going to Europe. This completely, when you hear about culture shock and everything, culture is a broad term, but it really encompasses most of the changes that I saw. It was through language, through just attitude towards subjects, and then just everything was different. I had to adapt almost everything I did to the experience, whether it was using new kitchen appliances that I'd never used before. There was no oven or dryer, which is weird.
Really?
But yeah, it's just small things like that, and then down to just shopping for groceries. It was just completely different, and there was, when I say everything is different, I almost mean it was I left planet Earth. It was crazy.
Yeah, my senior year, one of my mom's biggest things was to visit Italy as a bucket list before she dies. Not that she's going to die anytime soon, just something she wanted to do. And I was part of the art department in my high school, and so we did a spring break trip to Italy, and that was my senior year gift. So my mom and I went with the art department at the school, and we visited Venice, Florence, and Rome, and it was so incredible because you go to Epcot at Disney, and you think the buildings aren't going to look like this, and then you get to Venice, and you're the buildings are so real that they look fake. It's so gorgeous it has to be fake, and
one thing I noticed that was interesting about throughout all this change that I had been experiencing is what stayed the same, and that was myself as a person. And I think there's a misconception when it comes to traveling and studying abroad that people can seek fulfillment in change and getting away in a new place, though it's magic, as if it's magical or something. And I think that was really a really valuable lesson I learned, that all it is a change in setting. And that setting can change you, but I think more importantly, it's just it's the same character, just a different story. You know?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. When I went to Italy, I thought it was going to be some gigantic, like, revelation being somewhere else, and it wasn't. So when I got back, I was kind of disappointed. Like, I thought I was, like, going to come back as a completely different person because I've experienced all this different stuff, and it really wasn't. Like, it's really weird because we would see things like the Trevi Fountain, and there would be like shopping centers right next to it, and you think like people walk past this like every day. Even when we drove from, I think it was from Venice to Florence, we stopped at this little town called Assisi in like the countryside, and they had this like gigantic, beautiful church. And I want to say it took you like 10 minutes to walk through the entire town. But it's just like people live there. And it's just mind-boggling to think that that stuff is there, especially when we're here, and it's just like, I don't know, I mean, we have Disney that's like 2 hours away, but we don't have like the ceilings that were painted in the Duomo by like Michelangelo or anything. So, yeah, I thought I was going to be like a different person, but no, I agree. It's about where you go. And it's just a new environment and learning from that. So, that's really cool. The next question is, what was your favorite part about studying abroad?
That's a great question. I think ultimately sharing and learning through the relationships that I built over there was my favorite part. The sites were great, the experiences were awesome, but I think in the end, participating in dialogue that matters to people, such as religion, politics, and economics, like that was my favorite thing, because it wasn't just my neighbor here in the United States. It was a perspective from across the world.
Yeah, that was one thing I noticed too, being in Italy, was the amount of effort that they made to speak English. Because we were told, you know, like, brush up on your Italian, and we, besides like hello and thank you, there really wasn't much effort in that. And then I remember walking into like a store, and this woman was like super apologetic for not knowing English very well, and my mom and I were like, well, we're in your country, so we should be the ones apologizing. And they make such an effort to make Americans or English speaking people feel welcome in their countries, and I think that's really, really awesome.
Yeah, it was.
So the next question is more of a kind of like heavy topic question. Don't feel the need to go into too much depth. I was just curious because a lot of times when people think about studying abroad, they think about the things that we've seen on the news the past couple years and whether or not it poses like a dangerous threat. So my question to you is, did you ever feel unsafe when you were there?
Yeah, I did. Okay. And I think that was like, I think that was healthy. I think it's good for everyone to realize your vulnerability. And I definitely was vulnerable over there. But I think the person that was really scared was like my grandma, not really me, you know. So I knew that there was the only thing in my control was just be prepared and aware. And past that, there's nothing, you know, there's nothing you can do. And so I would go to things and events and just make sure I knew where the exits were. And then, you know, there was a lot of peace of mind that came through that. And most of the times where it was a little bit sketchy, it was just because of the environment. It's just not something I'm used to. But all in all, you know, I was comfortable. You know, especially just knowing that I was prepared and conscious and aware of everything.
That's I'm actually kind of surprised by that, because I expected, especially being like a European country, that for the most part we think of like France, we think of Italy, we think of Germany. I don't necessarily ever see those places as being something that you would feel like unsafe being there, but I'm actually kind of surprised that you said you do feel unsafe. But I think the fact that you went is better than sitting at home and being in fear. And I know that, like, when I think about going other places, that's the first thing my parents are like, is it going to be safe? And I'm like, I don't necessarily want to stay sedentary my entire life. I'd rather take that risk to have an experience than not. So that's, I agree. The next question, away from studying abroad, is just basic. Are you engaged in anything else on campus?
Yeah, I love being active on campus. I think that's why I love UNF, just because there's so many different things you can do. I'm a brother in the Kappa Sigma fraternity. I as well as a member of the Navigators Student Ministries. And kind of more extracurricular, I'm involved in the UNF Dive Club as well as the Sailing Club.
Oh, nice. That's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, as far as UNF Dive Club goes, I'm assuming that's like swimming, diving, right?
Like scuba diving.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't have a pool, so I don't really know where you do that.
Yeah, they organize a lot of trips around.
That's awesome.
And I just got certified I think the semester before I left, or the summer before I left. So I'm anticipating going on some really cool trips.
That's really awesome.
And they really do their best to kind of orient you into the process,
Mm-hmm.
and they give you, they've got great connections with local dive shops like that.
That's really,
so it's
really
been
cool.
fun, yeah.
Yeah, the ocean's awesome. That's probably one of my favorite things, just about like being in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Hawaii because my brother used to live there, and I have to say that probably snorkeling was my favorite thing, like ever. It was just so cool. The water was freezing, but just being able to see like a lot of the wildlife that we typically don't get here, I think it's just super cool to be able to have that experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really awesome. Next question: if you could make one wish, what would you wish for and why?
One wish. So I gave it some thought, and I think that ultimately, if I had one wish, it would be at the end of my life, I could write a letter to my younger self. I think that would be really
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think there's a lot of lessons you can learn in
Yeah.
life, and it can help you out and save you a lot of heartache if you had somebody else to listen to. And what a better person than yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, you lived it.
Exactly.
So
Yes,
what better person to give you some last minute advice? The next question: if you had one word to describe yourself, what would you choose?
I think curious. Curious guy.
Yeah, that's really cool. I could totally see that after you talked about studying abroad
Yeah.
and all the things that you do on campus.
Yeah.
Hey, doing a lot of things is what makes you a well-rounded person. So.
That's right. Thank you.
Our very last question is going to be describing your perfect meal.
Okay, so I had my perfect meal abroad. This is a good time to get all cultural for everybody. But my favorite meal was prepared for me on the Amalfi Coast in Italy, and it was the scialatielli frutti di mare, and that's basically fruit of the sea pasta. So it's seafood pasta, and it was really good.
Just anything with pasta.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to let us get to know you, and we'll be back in the next couple weeks with another Above and Beyond Envoy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye.